Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about video storytelling, and we're going to continue our discussion on the importance of having a digital visual literacy and specifically as it relates to videography that we see in most media that we consume today. As you guys get jobs, I think it's going to be more and more important for you to have these skills and to understand some of the concepts behind video storytelling as it relates to digital video storytelling. And so we're going to kind of talk about that today, also in preparation for your next project, which will be for you guys to be creating your own video content as an assignment. So the next assignment is a video interview assignment where you're going to actually interview somebody using a video camera or your smartphone, in some way get a video interview going and turn that as your next project. So this will be kind of in preparation for that as well. So we can't talk about videography and video storytelling without first talking about the television, which really came on the scene in around the 1920s, believe it or not. And this big old box would be in people's living rooms, big cathode ray tube. That's why they call it the tube. And because not many people had TVs and not many broadcast stations were creating original programming, there really wasn't as much to watch as there is today, but families would surround the whole TV and all watch the same programming. There were really only about 3 different broadcast stations, CBS, NBC, and ABC. Those are the big 3. And later on, as broadcasting got more and more popular, it became Fox was in there as well. But people could only get so many stations and only see so much programming at the time. And really, if you think about the history of television and programming, the culmination of kind of TV's prime moment was in 1983, when 105 million viewers tuned in to watch the series finale of MASH, and over 105 million viewers tuned in for this. And so this is still known as the highest viewed episode of any show ever aired. But there was one big problem with broadcast TV, and that was that you had to have your antenna set in a certain direction, and you had to be in a place where you could get reception to get these broadcasts and the right kind of content for your TV. And around the 1940s and 50s, there was a new technology developing called cable TV that instead of broadcasting to your TV, you actually hardwired in using a cable. And so that's obviously where we get the name cable TV. It was around the 1950s that there were 70 cable systems and 14,000 subscribers. And you can see the graph rising year after year. Of 1980, there were 16 million cable subscribers. And as more and more people got better TVs, more and more people started subscribing to cable rather than broadcast TV. And so we can see today, most of the content that is shared on the cable box today is not necessarily only TV programming, but there are things like, cable phone services, and obviously broadband internet is delivered through the cable box now, and on-demand program, and the options that cable brings is a lot different than traditional broadcast has brought in the past. And today when it comes to cable TV, most people really are not watching live TV anymore, and more people are using on-demand services. They may be using the cable service, but it's not necessarily for TV, it's more for broadband internet. And you can see here in 2017, there was this report that said 95% of US cable industry lost 410,000 subscribers during the first quarter, and inversely, Netflix gained 8.3 million subscribers. So a lot of these subscribers are slowly moving from the traditional cable method into more on-demand services and internet streaming. And so a lot of people are saying, well, traditional TV, broadcast TV is dead or dying, and now cable TV is kind of dead or dying in favor of streaming. And so that's kind of where we're at today. From 2012 to 2017, the average percent of people ages 18 to 34 using television has declined from 16% to 10%. And I have seen that in my own experience. I really don't watch TV, traditional TV, to get my news or to get entertained. Usually it's going to be through streaming services. And I think as younger generations turn to on-demand services like streaming, they're less and less watching a traditional TV or even cable TV. And so when we think about news, even the way we get our news, traditionally it's been through local broadcast stations, broadcasting to your living room to tell you what's happening, or even cable news. But we can see some trends in this world as well. Local TV from 2016 to 2017 is decreasing. Network TV is decreasing. Cable TV is decreasing from 2016 to 2017. And then we see the average number of TVs tuning into news programming for whether it's morning news, evening news, or late news. Fewer and fewer people are tuning in to certain times to watch TV broadcast. And so where are viewers going? Well, studies show that they're actually going to social media to get a lot of their streaming video content. And so you can see here that two of the most prominent online platforms for gathering information is through YouTube and Facebook. And more YouTube and Facebook are becoming places, obviously, for not just streaming video content, but getting news as well. And so what we're seeing is an increasingly fragmented and on-demand world. People are not waiting for the 5 o'clock news to watch their local news broadcast. They're following them on social media. People aren't tuning in at a certain time to watch a certain TV show. They're binge watching things on Netflix, and platforms are delivering entire seasons of shows at once, and people just kind of binge watch them. And it's just a different kind of animal than it was years ago. And we have so many more options in terms of the types of content that are being delivered and different types of platforms that we're seeing it on, whether it's on social media platforms or even traditional TV. We're consuming them on tablets and on desktops and on TVs and on our smartphones. And we're just seeing a wide range of content and platforms. And so it looks nothing like it did back in the day when there were only 4 broadcast stations. We're seeing a very fragmented and on-demand world. I mean, think about the options that you have when you watch video content. It's probably not going to be at a certain time on a traditional TV. We have Amazon Prime, we have Disney Plus, we have Netflix, we have Apple TV, and all these different streaming services. It seems like everyone has their own package and plan. It's a very different world than we've ever seen before. It's a very exciting time, in my opinion, because we're seeing lots of different types of content, and you guys are going to actually see some of that in this week's module. You're going to see some of the different examples of video content that is being produced, and it's a very wide range. And this is all known as cord cutting. People are leaving the corded cable experience to watch and tune in to a certain TV show. They're cutting those cords, and they're jumping into a world where they can stream and they can watch on demand. So I want to show you pretty quickly a few examples that you guys are going to see in your module this week of the different types of content that we're seeing. And the first is broadcast. Broadcast TV is not dead, it's changing. Broadcast stations still exist, local TV still exists, and people still get jobs as reporters and, delivering news to local audiences. So a traditional broadcast world does still exist, and a lot of these news organizations will take their content and repackage them and put them on YouTube and put them on their website. And so it's not just going to be a one-size-fits-all, but they're going to take that and repackage it and repurpose it for all their different platforms. And that has worked well for a lot of TV news stations. Documentary style videos are becoming more and more popular thanks to Vice News and Netflix and a lot of these platforms that allow people to stream at their own leisure to find content that maybe they wouldn't find in the evening news, but things that they're highly interested in and topics that they can really soak their teeth into and really binge watch an entire true crime documentary, on Netflix or something like that. They have time because it's really on demand. It's as long as you can hold the user's attention span. And so this allows for more free-form storytelling. It allows for something that a traditional broadcast TV station wouldn't necessarily air, but because people are now limited not by the time but by their attention, they can tune in and find the exact documentaries and things that they would want to see. So documentary storytelling is a very real way that people are experiencing video streaming and video content. Other types of video content are these kind of tutorial how-to videos that we see really popular, especially on social media. Tasty is a great example of this. They provide recipes, how-tos, and it's a lot of times made for social media specifically, and that's why they get shared a lot and tagged a lot. But this is another type of video content. It's usually pretty quick. This is kind of an explainer video that's about 6 minutes long on how to bake the perfect chocolate chip cookie. And so this is not something that you would necessarily see in a traditional broadcast setting or even on cable TV as much. And so we're seeing different lengths of storytelling and different ways to share it. There's other explainer videos, like I went to slack.com, and basically when you go encounter a new product, and maybe if you've never used Slack before, it's a group messaging platform for businesses. And so basically this explainer video is a short little 2-minute video on how to use Slack, what it is. And so we see these promotional explainer videos all the time. And if you go to the website ShamWow, they're going to tell you all about the things that ShamWow can do. And so that's kind of the idea of an explainer video that you're going to see below. Another type of video is the social media explainer video. A lot of news organizations are using this to explain difficult concepts or explain news stories. And they look a little bit different because they a lot of times use footage from smartphones, and because a lot of these are being consumed on smartphones. And so it may not be the best, highest production quality, but it does provide explanations on what's happening. The unique thing about social media video explainer videos is that for the most part, they use really large captions. And that's because a lot of people are consuming this content in places where they can't actually listen to what's happening in the video. And so they use text captions to explain what's happening, and you can watch it whether you're on a bus or waiting in line or somewhere where you can't really play the video. You can watch it and read along with it with the captions as well. And Now This News is a great example of that. And we've seen that in lots of different settings, and lots of different news organizations have kind of followed suit and created content that was pretty similar. And then we have other types of innovations in video, like virtual reality, augmented reality. These are forms of video content that really didn't exist even 20 years ago. And so news organizations and advertisers and lots of people are experimenting with this type of video that allows the user to really fully immerse themselves into your products or into your news story. And so these are really neat innovations in video that we're really seeing pop up more and more. And drones are a great example of this too, this innovation in video that allows journalists and storytellers to get really amazing shots on a robot flying through the air. And so we're seeing journalists and news organizations getting their people drone certified, so they don't have to pay for a full-time salary for a helicopter to do traffic reports. They can send drones out to do that. We're also seeing innovations in live video. Live video doesn't look anything like it used to. Live video still requires the user to be there in a certain spot, but with live video on social media, you can interact with the reporter as they're going live, and you can ask questions and interact in a way that we really have never seen before. We see this a lot on Twitch, where people can log in and watch others play video games and interact with each other and create community. And so it doesn't have to come from a traditional broadcast source. It can come from anybody, and anybody can create and build video content using a lot of the free software that's already out there. And so we're seeing a really wide range of the types of content and content creators. Because the barrier for entry is very low right now, people can afford really high quality cameras and really high quality editing software for not as much as it used to cost to produce some of this content. We're seeing more and more people going onto platforms like TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram Live and YouTube for more long form storytelling, to Amazon Prime, to Facebook getting in the game of allowing people to watch all kinds of original video content on their platform. Everyone seems to be trying to get into the game and trying different things with video content, whether it's news or entertainment. We're just seeing a very wide range of types of content platforms and content creators. And so that's what we're seeing, an increasingly fragmented production of video stories, ranging from highly produced, really nice cameras, documentary style, to just people filming things on their smartphones. And a big moment for this was in 2009, when more and more people were creating content using their smartphones and posting it to social media. It was called the Good Enough Revolution, when cheap and simple is just fine. And so more and more people were posting videos that weren't the best quality, weren't the most highly produced, but they were getting lots and lots of traction. I think of this video of Charlie Bit My Finger. It's that moment when, it was just a funny, interesting story. It got shared more than a lot of news stories, not because it was highly produced, but just because it was a real clip of a boy biting his brother's finger. And so video today doesn't always have to have the highest production value, but it really should still have the pillars that make really strong storytelling, like a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end that draws people in and keeps their attention. It should have really strong emotion and invoke some kind of emotion within your audience, and have a really strong character that's driving the narrative. And if it has these three things, and if it has those storytelling pillars, then it will still be quality content depending on the platform that it's on. It may look different, it may take different shapes, but as long as it has these pillars of good storytelling, it'll still be an effective video. And so when we talk about the types of video that you create, it's going to really fall into one of two categories, either vertical or horizontal. And it depends on the final product and where it will be viewed. So if you're going to view a video on a desktop experience, it's going to be best filmed as a horizontal video with maybe a traditional camera. If it's going to be consumed on Snapchat story, then it would probably be better produced using vertical video. And so you have to think about those things before you start shooting. So when you're doing a Snapchat story, obviously that's going to be a vertical video. If you're going to be doing something on TV, you're going to record using your phone in a horizontal mode. And so when you record your video interview, because for the most part it's going to be consumed by us on a desktop experience, we want you to video your interview horizontally. But that is just one of the many things that you have to think about as you record video, not just framing and lighting and the things that we talked about in the photography lecture, but also you have to think about story and where this video is going to end up, because people will digest it differently depending on the platform that they're on. And because platforms are so fragmented right now and so many different forms of video are being experimented on right now, it's going to be actually a pretty exciting time for video content creators in years to come, because people are consuming video much differently than they were years ago. And so I hope you take that with you as you start creating video content for your blog, for your website, and for hopefully your future career.